Hi everyone, welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday, and on this week's episode we are going to be doing an AMA, Ask Me Anything, with Jupiter Research Director of Engineer, Jordan Walker. Hi Jordan, how are you?
I'm great, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. So let's get started by getting to know you a little bit better. Where did you go to school and what's your kind of background that got you into engineering?
Yeah, so I graduated from the Barrett Honors College at Arizona State University in 2013 with my bachelor in mechanical engineering. I always had a passion for math and science, and I was excited to get into engineering. I kind of knew I wanted to do it for a long time, and now I'm excited to be doing it and practicing it.
Awesome. All right, cool. So let's get into these questions. The first question up is, are your devices made in the United States? That's one that we get a lot on social media.
So our devices are not made in the United States. They're made in a facility in China. We partner with this facility because they're a high quality facility. We've been working with them for years. But we do have a US based team, engineering, sales, that support the China based team as far as design, manufacturing, operations.
Cool. All right. Second question. Since the factory is in China, how do we ensure quality control?
So one of the most important things about Jupiter is that we have a team, a Jupiter team at the China facility. So we have a Jupiter operations and a Jupiter quality team there. We also have our management teams that go out to visit. Obviously not right now, but usually we'll have a management person out there every other month to help talk through processes and make improvements to the product and make sure everything's running smoothly.
Awesome. There you guys have it. So this is another very frequently asked question on, well, just across the board. But how can you spot a fake cartridge? What are some of the indicators?
So the easiest way, I think the easiest way is to identify a Jupiter cartridge or a C-cell cartridge. And that by flipping the cartridge over, you're able to find a distinct C-cell label. Also in Jupiter cartridge, you'll find a Jupiter drop that's engraved in the base of the cartridge with a lot number identifying when the cartridge was made. That's usually the best way to separate what a Jupiter C-cell is and versus a fake cartridge.
Cool. And we also have another video to go over that on our Instagram TV and YouTube channel, which I will link below. All right, so the next question. Can you please explain the difference between vaporizer power and resistance?
Yeah, so power, as it is described in our devices, is a mixture of voltage and resistance. And so the voltage output of our power supplies, when mixed with the resistance of the cartridge, provides a total output of power. So as you change the resistance, you can change the power output of the device as a whole. So in the case where we have our standard power supplies and one of our standard, what we call 9-watt cartridges, that cartridge has a specific resistance value. And when you change that resistance value to what we call our 6-watt cartridges, you then change the total power output of the total system. So that's the combination of the cartridge and the power supply.
Gotcha. And do any of our batteries have variable voltage or temperature control?
Yeah, so we have several power supplies that now come equipped with varying voltage. And so our RA100, our RA200, and then our liquid 6-volt all have the ability to vary the voltage output of the power supply.
And what is the quote-unquote sweet spot of vaping voltage?
So that's a really interesting question, and it's something that's unique to the oil. So a lot of customers that we work with, we help define the power for their oil by using performance testing or user testing to identify where the vapor performance and the maximum flavor profile kind of meet. So it really is a unique blend. It depends on what the customer's specific oil is. So we have a lot of customers that use varying powers. So it's certainly something that, with a variable voltage battery, you get to control a little bit more and play with to find your own. But a lot of our customers actually use a specific cartridge with our singular voltage power supplies like our Liquid 6 and use those to control the experience for the user.
Perfect. And then several readers on Reddit wanted to know if you could tell us of any new products that are being released soon, or give us any sneak peeks.
Yeah, so we have our glass cartridges have been historically screw on top, and so we're changing with a threaded mouthpiece. We're changing and offering those now with a press fit, so you can have the premium glass feel with a tamper-proof top. We have some new pod things in the pipeline, and we have some new unique Jupiter platforms that are going to be coming out here pretty soon, but I can't talk about them too much yet.
Awesome, thank you. And then another very popular question, any tips on preventing leaking cartridges?
Preventing leaking cartridges, absolutely. So the most important thing really comes down to filling and capping. So when the customer is filling and capping these, the time that it takes from the time you fill it and the time you cap it is very important. If you don't cap them at all, the fluid will slowly leak through the bottom. So the time in which you take to cap those stops the fluid and the gravity in the headspace of the cartridge, hold the fluid in place and allow the atomizer to soak it in and not for it to fall out. Now, the processor can fill and cap in the perfect amount of time, but then if the cartridge is susceptible to a temperature change or a pressure change, they can also cause a leaking. And so when you go into, we're in the summertime, if you leave your cartridge in your car, or if you were to take a cartridge on a plane, those are situations where the pressure or temperature can change and force liquid out of the bottom of the cartridge. In those circumstances, we just recommend if you turn it upside down, or allow one of the inlet holes around the atomizer to be open to air, that'll allow the pressure to equalize without causing any leakage.
Cool. And another common complaint is that residual oil that's at the bottom of the cartridge. Can you explain that a little bit more?
So a little bit, as far as emptying the cartridge, there's always going to be a little bit of residual, just because the surface retention of the fluid, the atomizer is only so strong to pull so much fluid in. So the glass and the individual materials kind of collect a little bit of that oil over time. Also, what you'll get is a little bit of condensation. So some of that vapor condenses in spots along the material path and will collect in certain locations like the airway or in the base of the cartridge or in the base of the power supply. And that's just when the vapor, you don't get all the vapor from your first activation or your intake, and some of that just kind of deposits on other areas.
Cool. And we kind of touched on this a little bit before, but what are some technical customization opportunities that we provide for our customers that don't want that, that standard cartridge?
Yeah, so the power is certainly one of them. Adjusting the power of the cartridges by adjusting the resistance is a really important aspect of really controlling the vapor production and flavor profile when used in conjunction with the oil. We're also the inlet diameter of the 4 holes that are around the atomizer. You can customize that as well and change the size of that. That allows and kind of controls the flow of fluid to the atomizer, can help with the filling process, allowing for more time to cap after filling. What else? Obviously there's some branding items that you can do. The majority of Jupiter product is white labeled, so customers are more than capable of branding the devices in many ways, as far as LED lights or custom graphics and stuff like that. One of the last things we're looking at doing in the coming days is getting some time. We have some customized times. So the standard for Jupiter devices are 10 seconds. If you activate the device for 10 seconds, it'll shut off. But we have a couple of options out there now that will allow for a shorter cutoff time to help with people in dosing or controlling total intake.
Awesome. All right, and we're almost done, but how safe are Jupiter power supplies?
How safe are Jupiter power supplies? That's a great question. So the majority of Jupiter power supplies are So the real safety question is in relation to the battery cell most of the time. And so we use battery cells that are produced by one of the largest manufacturers for battery cells in the world. And the battery cells are UL 1642 tested and certified. And so what this means is the battery cells go through some rigorous crush testing, puncture testing, high heat, high temperature, high duty cycle testing that ensures that the devices don't explode or cause any significant damage when mistreated. So there's some safety protections in place to ensure the safety of those battery cells within our power supplies.
And last but not least, what is your personal favorite device and why?
Personal favorite device is the L6 platform. I really like it's the breath actuated. It's small, it's compact, works with all the 510 cartridges. You really have a great ability of customizing what you do from which brand, and so it's just something that's kind of a staple and really easy to use. They last forever, and so it's just the device that I tend to use the most.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Jordan. This wraps up today's AMA with Jordan Walker. If you guys have any more questions, please shoot us a DM or leave them in the comments below. Jordan, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, of course. Thanks, Sterling. Have a great one.
Yeah, you too. See you guys later.